And I'm back. I'm sorry for being gone so long. A lot of things have happened in the past few days. First, shortly after making my previous video, my computer crapped out on me once again. I took it to go get fixed and it turned out that the fan on the CPU had actually broken, so I had to buy a new one. That took a few days, and then after that happened, I got sick. I'm actually still pretty sick right now, so forgive me if my voice kind of sounds but I figured it's been long enough since I've made a video, so I'm just gonna pull through and try to get one out. So let's just get right into this. With the Nintendo Switch a mere 4 months away from launch, people are getting very antsy. They're getting very concerned about what the system can do, what kind of power it will provide, how it will compete with the competition, and a lot of other problems. So in this video, I'm going to debunk a lot of these concerns, or at least try my best to ease your concerns. Now, I want to get something clear right now. Pretty much any time I point out something that already should have been obvious, I get labeled a fanboy by angry people looking for reasons to complain. So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a PC gamer. I have completely abandoned consoles. The only reason I still play Nintendo games is because I can't get them on PC. The moment that happens, I will never buy another Nintendo console. Maybe a handheld, but not a console. So you can call me a fanboy all you want, but no amount of accusations is going to change anything. I'm only telling you things that you should already know, but don't do research to find out yourself. Hell, anyone who's a PC gamer and knows a thing or two about specs should be able to tell you that half of these concerns are completely idiotic. I am convinced that half the people that claim that the Switch is already doomed for reasons such as having 4 gigabytes of RAM are either people who simply love Microsoft and PlayStation and get hard-ons for hating Nintendo, or are people who just want to stir up trouble and don't actually know what they're talking about. I, on the other hand, do my research and do know what the hell I'm talking about. So if you come here just for the sake of calling me a fanboy, just go ahead and take the next 10 seconds to do it. I'll go ahead and give you some time. Alright, now be on your merry way, please. Thank you very much. For the rest of you here who actually want to learn, shut the hell up and listen. Alright, so before we begin, I want to say one more time, I apologize if my voice sounds slightly more than usual. I'm a little under the weather right now, but bear with me. I don't know when this sickness is going to go away, and I didn't want to wait any longer to make another video. Now, in my initial analysis of the Nintendo Switch trailer, I went over a few concerns that people were already having, but not that in depth. So, I'm going to be going into some more here that I did not go over last time, and also kind of better explain the ones that I brought up last time. So here we go. The very first one I have listed here is what exactly will the Nintendo Switch dock actually do? A lot of people seem to believe that the dock is simply going to be a place to put your Switch console itself and then it charges while displaying the image on the TV. But that's not actually true. What a lot of people haven't caught on to yet, and I'm actually surprised about this, is that shortly after the reveal trailer, Nintendo straight up confirmed in an interview that the dock will make the system run faster. They straight up said, and I quote, "The main function of the Nintendo Switch dock is to provide an output to the TV, as well as charging and providing power to the system." Notice how they separated charging and providing power. What this means, or should I say what I believe this means, is that when docked, the Nintendo Switch itself will be charged, will be output to the TV, and will either be overclocked and have upped cooling, or, assuming that the Switch is the supplemental computing device that we learned about in several patents back in the day, the dock itself could actually contain another GPU, which then, via the magic of SLI or Crossfire type technology, PC gamers know what that is, connects to the Switch console itself and temporarily adds a power boost to the console. I say temporarily because this obviously goes away once that the system is undocked. So yes, lay your head to rest, the Nintendo Switch dock will in fact make the console perform better when it's on your TV. I don't even know why this had to be said. This should have been like the first assumption people naturally had. But now we can put that to rest. Now that begs the question, well, how powerful will this thing be when it's not docked? and when you're taking it on the go? Well, let's put it this way. We already know that the Nintendo Switch will be using a custom version of NVIDIA's Tegra processor, which is one of the most, if not the most, powerful mobile processors out there right now. And before anyone tries to say that the Switch is already going to be weak because it's using a mobile processor, both the Xbox One and the PS4 use mobile components inside of them. I can't remember which one in particularly, but one of them actually does use a mobile processor as its CPU. Now, without a doubt, the version of Tegra that will be used inside the Nintendo Switch is unknown, but we can be rest assured that it will at least be somewhat more powerful than the base Tegra. But since we have the specs laid out for the base Tegra right here, let's go ahead and take a quick look at them. Now here, I'm going to have the specs on the screen. I'm not going to bore you with the details of what exactly all these mean, as I'm sure most of you don't understand. But the one thing I will point out, and the one thing that I know you will understand, is that the original Tegra X1 was capable of playing 4K video playback in 60 FPS or 60 Hz. Note that this is simply video playback and not gameplay. Now, when it comes to gameplay, it can generally maintain a solid 60 FPS on a 1080p game. Now, this obviously varies from game to game, but this is mostly consistent. That being said, this device is already a few years old. The Nintendo Switch's version is obviously going to be very much different and is going to be more modern, built on more modern architecture. This is going to be a very modern console. I don't think a lot of people realize that, but Nvidia is very efficient in what they do. They are very resourceful with what they have. There's a reason that a lot of PC gamers actually value their GPUs and their products more than AMD. That's not to say that AMD is bad. I have an AMD GPU in my current computer and it works just fine. But when it comes down to business, GPUs made by Nvidia tend to get the job done a little better. Marginally better, but better nonetheless. Now, when it comes to the Tegra, I actually wasn't even really aware what the Tegra was until the whole Eurogamer rumor started and whatnot. So I actually had to do some research myself and look at it, and I'm actually pretty impressed with this little chip. 1 teraflop of power in this small little chip. That's already a good sign too. Several sources seem to imply that the Nintendo Switch will have a floating point of anywhere between 1 and 1.5 teraflops. And for what it is, that's very good. That is almost on par. Actually, no. That is on par with the base Xbox One. And that's all this thing really needs. Because if it can play games that are on the Xbox One games can also be played on the PS4 and vice versa. It will be able to play most modern day AAA games. There will obviously have to be some things that are shifted around and revamped because it's coming to a new device. The architecture will be different, but it can be done. And this is something that happens all the time. And I understand that an argument that a lot of people use, and you can tell they have no idea what they're talking about when they use this argument, is, well, if this thing is running NVIDIA and the Xbox One and PS4 run off of AMD, won't that make it harder to port games? No. I just told you. Okay, well, obviously you wouldn't have known before watching this video, obviously, but it should be common sense. Computers use AMD and NVIDIA GPUs all the time. I have an AMD CPU, and I could go get an NVIDIA GPU, and there would be no issue. And games get ported to PC all the time. It doesn't matter. That doesn't affect in any way, shape, or form how games are ported. Maybe it does, but not by a massive amount to the point where it's like they're working on a complete alien architecture that they'll need to work from the ground up to understand. I'm sorry, but every time I see somebody say that, I'm just, really? You really have no idea what you're talking about, do you? Alright, so let's move on to the next thing. This one is a pretty big one. It has been talked about a lot recently, and I understand that a lot of people have already gotten to this before I did, obviously, because I was sick, but I digress. People have been bouncing off the walls in just anxiety and anger and confusement. Is that even a word? Confusement? Well, it is now. Confusion. Never mind. Over the rumor that the Nintendo Switch is going to have 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, when I first heard this, I already knew what this meant, and I figured that a lot of people would already, but then I remembered that PC gamers aren't as common in this sort of department. We're not here to ease these console dwellers' minds. But what I was really surprised to see is when Rich of Review Tech USA, of all people, started freaking out about the fact that the Switch is only going to have 4 gigabytes of RAM, supposedly. And I was shocked. I thought of all people, he would have been able to explain why this isn't that big of a deal. So, I guess I'm going to have to do it here. Sorry, Rich. Alright, so here's what happened. The recommended amount of RAM for PCs that play games is 8 gigabytes. The amount of RAM inside of the Xbox One and the PS4 is 8 gigabytes. Most people don't actually know what RAM is or what it does, so they just saw 8 gigabytes and then saw 4 in this rumor and assume that must mean that the console's gonna suck. But no. Okay, let me explain to you what RAM is. RAM stands for randomly accessible memory, or random access memory. Basically what that means is that the more RAM you have in your computer, the more your computer can store random little bits of data whenever it needs to. This includes connections between two people over the internet, instances of a session, on examples a Minecraft server. Each time that someone logs in, that is a session. If you have 32 people on your Minecraft server right now, then that's 32 sessions, and each one will be saved to your system's RAM. When your computer goes into sleep mode, everything that you've currently done is saved onto your RAM so that your computer can wake back up and remember what it was doing at that exact moment. And the list goes on and on. The name random access memory truly lives up to its name. It's just random data that your computer can access to store things on. Now here's the thing. 4 gigabytes of RAM really is a fine amount. And this is coming from a PC gamer. It is actually possible to play a good amount of games using only 4 gigabytes of RAM. My current computer right now has 8 gigabytes of RAM, 2 4 gigabyte sticks. I could turn this computer off, go pull one of those RAM sticks out, only have 4 gigabytes of RAM, jump into a game, and the problem really wouldn't be that big of a deal. That being said, that would only work if I'm running very few applications in the background, because then my computer would just run out of memory and die. But hey, this is a console, not a computer. They're known to only run a few programs at any given time. So see, it's not that big of a deal. There's actually tests on YouTube of people playing games on only 4 gigabytes of RAM, and the difference between playing that and 8 gigabytes is very, very minuscule. It's an amount that we're told to have because when you play games on PC, you're expected to also have other RAM-intensive programs up in the background, such as streaming, such as Skype or Discord as I use. Internet, everything uses RAM in some aspect. But on a video game console, all that really is going to be using RAM is the video game you're playing and some minuscule background programs. Not to mention, this is going to be more modern of architecture than we've seen in any other console, and that's just simply the fact that Nvidia is helping making this, and it's a brand new damn thing. So, this system might actually be able to be more efficient with the RAM it has on board than any system ever. I actually would not be surprised at all if Nintendo and Nvidia worked together and found a way to fit the OS on only half a gig of RAM, and that would leave you 3.5 GB of RAM to use for your games and everything else. And remember, this is all under the assumption that the rumor that the system only has 4 gigabytes of RAM. It could have even more. I'm actually willing to bet that this thing might have up to 6 gigs. 8 gigs, I don't know. But 6? That's a big possibility. Another thing, and this is one I've already covered several times, but it never hurts to shove it back in people's faces again, because they love denying it. The Nintendo Switch has no gimmicks. It's a console, and then it's a handheld. There's no in-between phase that transforms it into some weird gimmicky third thing. You play it as a normal console, or you play it as a normal handheld. And even if you want to consider the fact that you can turn it from a console to a handheld gimmick, that's not something you ever have to use. And a common complaint I always see is, well, I don't want to pay for a gimmick I'm never going to use. Why can't we just have a box that plays games? Well, here's the thing. We haven't had just a box that plays games since the GameCube. The PS2 tried to also be a DVD player. The Xbox One? Do I even need to remind you why the Xbox One is called the Xbox One? Here, watch this little clip from the Xbox One reveal. That's right, the Xbox One was advertised as not just a game console, but your entire entertainment system all in one. It had voice commands. It was basically supposed to be a VCR that can play games and has voice commands. That is the pure definition of a gimmicky console. But of course, everyone's going to overlook that because it's not trendy to say when other companies try gimmicky things, only when Nintendo tries them. And you can ignore that all you want, but that's not going anywhere. That's always going to be the case. And it still happens to this day. Sony just released their PS4 Pro, which is the exact same thing as the PS4, except it plays games in 4K. They are trying so hard to force 4K into the mainstream market when not that many people actually own a 4K TV just yet. Oh wait, but so many people already own the base PS4. Oh well, I guess all of the games are gonna also have to run on the base PS4, so the PS4 Pro is basically irrelevant. The only people that this thing would even attract is the specifically small demographic of people who fit both criteria of A, not already owning the base PS4, and B, currently owning a 4K display. And that's not a big amount. The only other people that would buy one are Sony fanboys, and that would effectively be the same thing as buying the same thing twice that already plays the games that you already have. And then don't even get me started on the Xbox Scorpio, the most powerful console ever built, they say. But wait, same problem as the PS4 Pro, all the games are going to have to run on the Xbox One original, so what the hell's the point? At least they went ahead and told us that eventually the Xbox Scorpio, whatever it will be called in the future, will support exclusive games, but only in the form of VR. And I'm telling you, VR is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. It's such a fad. I'm actually surprised that after the Wii Remote, and how we let that go, and how we let the Kinect go, that we're still buying into these gimmicks. And yes, that is a gimmick. It's a trend. It's a fad. It's going to die, and I don't know why Microsoft and Sony are trying so hard to make it look like it's going to last more than a few years. Now, AR on the other hand, AR I think has a lot more potential and will stick around for a lot more time. Microsoft HoloLens, yes, give that to me right now. But that's besides the point. I'm getting off track. Sorry for my little rant there. But yeah, like I said, this is the most bare bones console we've had in a while. You simply put it down in the dock, it becomes a box next to your TV, and you play games. You take it out, and it becomes a handheld. Simple as that. No gimmicks involved. End of story. Alright, next, let's take a look at our list here. Ah yes, lack of third-party support. This is an interesting one. Lack of third-party support. Well, we already saw a massive list of people that plan to support this thing. And yes, that could change over time just like it did with the Wii U. But here's the thing that a lot of people are already trying to sweep under the rug. Bethesda specifically said in an interview that they would only be willing to support the Nintendo NX at that time if it was at least on par with the base Xbox One, or if Nintendo did some kind of fancy magic and found a way to make it work. And it looks like they did for two reasons. One, Bethesda's on that list, and also Skyrim Remastered was shown in the original Nintendo Switch trailer. And yes, I know, I've said before, I understand that Bethesda said that they cannot confirm any games right now, but let's be honest, Nintendo is one of the last video game companies in the world that steers clear of cinematic bullshotting. I truly do not believe that A, Nintendo would have allowed that game to be there, and B, Bethesda would have allowed that game to be there, if it's not at least being planned for the Switch. I truly believe we will probably see that game on January 12th when the big Switch reveal happens. Another thing I want to point out is that Epic Games, the creator of Unreal Engine, is on that backing sheet. Now, I want to give everyone a friendly reminder here. And yes, I understand that YouTube user Doctray81 covered this before me. Always trust the doctor. But it never hurts in reiterating it here for those who haven't heard. Epic Games is the company that makes Gears of War. When Gears of War was originally conceived back in the days of the Xbox 360, the amount of RAM on the system simply wasn't enough to make the game work properly. So Epic Games sat down with Microsoft and told them, you guys need to double the amount of RAM that you have in this console. And Microsoft spent $1 billion to double that RAM and make it happen. So if Epic Games, the company that made Microsoft spend $1 billion to double the amount of system RAM that they had in the Xbox 360, is on board for the Nintendo Switch, a console that according to rumors only has 4 gigabytes of RAM, I think that that's enough for what the system needs to do, and that already should tell you 1,000 things. Right, another one I keep seeing, and this one just pisses me off so much because of how stupid and ignorant people are. I have seen people unironically use the argument, my phone is more powerful than this thing. Okay, listen. Okay, your phone. Sure. Your phone, your iPhone 7, your Samsung Galaxy, whatever the hell you want to call it, is more powerful than a Nintendo Switch. Well, guess what? Your phone cost $800. Is that what you want the Nintendo Switch to cost? Do you want it to cost $800? You know, there's a reason that you don't pay $800 up front for a device that small. That's the whole reason that phones, cars, houses, big appliances that cost thousands of dollars like that offer services where you pay in increments. And unless you want consoles to start having that same service where you pay them in increments, actually, thinking about that, that wouldn't be that bad of an idea. Yeah, actually, if that were to happen, then theoretically, people could make consoles as powerful as they want and charge whatever, and people just... Okay, I'm getting sidetracked here. But the bottom line is, the reason that your phone is so powerful is because it costs a lot. You always seem to forget that because you don't pay that price up front like you do with the console. But people are really wishy-washy on the Nintendo Switch. They keep saying they want a powerful console, but they don't want to pay anything more than $400. See, but the thing is, I actually don't care how much the Nintendo Switch costs. This thing can cost $600 for all I care. Because I am apparently one of the only people that's smart enough to realize, hey, I could just put a few down payments every week until the system comes out and have it paid off mostly by the time that it's out. That's literally what I've done for every console that I've ever owned. That's what I've done for every game I've ever owned. It's not rocket science. It's not a cop-out. It's called being smart. Try it sometime. Alright, we're almost done going through this list. Second to last one I have written here is, will the system be modern? Well, here's the thing. This thing is being co-developed by Nintendo and Nvidia. Nintendo has been known for several instances in the past of kind of falling out of times. They're kind of out of the loop with a lot of things. But here's the thing. Nvidia isn't, and Nvidia is helping make this device. I truly think that Nvidia steps in and tells Nintendo, okay, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this time. You can't let this not happen. You can't let this get overlooked. No pun intended. You can't let this go through without this happening. I think that Nvidia is going to give Nintendo a modern architecture 101 and make sure that this thing comes out just brand spanking new. Also, something that not a lot of people have heard about is that apparently DNA, the company that Nintendo has partnered with to make mobile games, is helping with the online infrastructure. So, if anyone's played Miitomo, you know that the online infrastructure, while it's still missing some things, is definitely better than what we had on the Wii U and the 3DS. So I think that we are definitely going to finally have a pretty good Nintendo console that is not that bad, that is moderately powerful, that will be able to play most of your current AAA party games, and is going to be pretty damn modern. I'm super excited for this thing, honestly. I'm a PC gamer, and I love this thing. That's just my opinion, though. Alright, last one here. This video is already pretty damn long. Let's wrap this up. The last one is something that I always hear, and I'm going to shut everyone up right now. They keep claiming that the Nintendo Switch is the Wii U 2.0. No. In every sense of the word, no. Where the hell did you even get this? Now, I've seen a lot of comments of people saying, this is what the Wii U should have been. If you want to believe that, sure. But what I want to know is where the hell you got this notion that this is taking the Wii U's principle and building off of it. The Wii U was a standard console that simply had a glorified controller with a screen built into it. It was not meant to be a console handheld hybrid. That's what everybody may have thought it was going to be, but that's not what it was going to be. And just because you didn't do research doesn't mean that that's what Nintendo was trying to do. My favorite argument was, I was in a Discord chat explaining this to some people who unironically thought that the Switch is the Wii U 2.0 and told them, okay, look, the point of the Wii U was to have an asymmetric experience on the controller and, in certain cases, offer off-TV play. Sure, the Nintendo Switch in a way offers off-TV play, and before I could even finish what I was saying, he said, that's right, It exists. Off-TV play exists. And you can't deny that it's the same thing the Wii U did. Oh, I'm sorry. Off-TV play was invented by the Wii U? Oh, I'm sorry, you must have never heard of the Game Boy, and the Game Boy Advance, and the DS. What the hell is wrong with these people? I keep telling people, the point of the Wii U was that it was a normal console, but it had a glorified controller with a screen built into it, and if you wanted, you could play games off of the TV somewhere else in your house while someone was using the TV. This is not that. This is literally a handheld that you dock to your TV, and play games on the TV if you don't want to play in your hands, and then when you want to leave, you can take it with you. The only two consoles that I can draw comparisons with to the Nintendo Switch is the GameCube, because that's pretty much what it is when it's docked, and when you take it out of the dock, it's the freaking PSP. The only reason that you came to the conclusion that this was the Wii U 2.0 is because just one of the methods in which you can play the Nintendo Switch happens to bear a slight physical resemblance with the Wii U gamepad. You can't deny it. That's literally the only reason you're saying that. Please stop. You sound like an idiot. I can feel my chromosomes dying every time someone tries to use that argument. Alright. That's everything I had on my list. Oh my god, I still feel very sick. Oh god, I'm gonna die. I'm telling you people right now. I was not prepared to make this video, but I truly believed I needed to get another one out. If there's anything else that I missed and you want me to clear up, go ahead and leave it in the comments, and hopefully I will get to that eventually. Sorry for being very casual here, but I figured I can sacrifice a couple professional points, whatever the hell you want to call them. It's been a while since I've made a video. I'm gonna start trying to be more one-on-one with my commenters. I understand that I've been very selective with the comments that I reply to. Sorry about that. It's just that I work a lot and I don't always have time to reply to all of them. Some of them I just deem too stupid for me to reply to, but you know, even the stupid people deserve a reply. I can get a good laugh out of them. So yeah, that's pretty much it I have for this video. Just remember that these are all facts that I brought up, objective facts, if anything, and no amount of calling me a fanboy or shouting damage control or uploading videos of your foot taking 3 minutes to get a sentence out of why you believe the Nintendo Switch is going to fail is going to change that.